Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back, everyone. I've been contacted by a few businesses that have been working remotely at scale for a few months for the first time, but are now thinking we don't want to lose momentum because they're thinking differently and beginning to explore how they can create a new future of work by leveraging intelligent workspaces that increase mobility and flexibility. So in a feature partner series of the Citrix Ready podcast, I explore the technology integrations that Citrix has with its partners, where essentially I invite guests from Citrix and their partners to spend a little bit of time with me and share how they're solving these real-world problems for businesses right now. Not on their own, but by working together. And I also want to try and bust a few myths and perceptions that you might have. And then explore the future of work, where we have these intelligent workspaces regardless of our location and what device we have to hand. So after learning how Fujitsu RunMyProcess and Citrix have been working together on a joint collaboration that consists of Fujitsu's low-code platform RunMyProcess and Citrix Workspace, I felt compelled to find out more. Now, I think we've all read about the digital transformation of everything. But at a time where remote workers are now embracing mobility and flexibility, and that's becoming the new expectation, which could also, of course, make it difficult for businesses that don't offer that to attract talent. So if we put all that into the melting pot, I want to explore the employee experience transformation. But I don't want to reveal any spoilers, so let's get today's guests onto the show now. So a massive warm welcome to the show, guys. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Brian James. I'm a global solution architect with Citrix. I worked for Citrix for about 7 years. For 6 of those or more, I've been managing the technical relationship with Fujitsu globally. So really my role is to try and make them successful with Citrix, whether that's training, enablement, joint solution development, or anything else.
Thanks, Neil. Hello, everyone. First of all, it's great to be here. My name is Manju Gali. I work as Senior Manager in the Citrix Ready program. I've been with Citrix for close to 6 years now. I primarily head the technical marketing team in the Citrix Ready program, and I also head the technical part in the Citrix Developer program. I spend majority of my time helping technology partners and developers to build a successful integration of their products and solutions with Citrix technologies and services.
Hey everyone, this is Tian and Neil. Thanks for having us on this podcast. My name is Tian Nguyen. I've been with Fujitsu for about 4 years, and I currently manage global partnerships for our low-code technology platform, RunMyProcess. This includes an ecosystem of resellers, service providers, and technology partners such as Citrix. And like I said, excited to be on this call with everyone.
Well, a huge thank you to all of you for taking the time. The fact that we've gone through multiple time zones and all over the world to get us all on this call is an achievement on its own. But one of the reasons I invited you, and one of the big things that I try and do on this podcast, is to try and bust a few myths and assumptions out there and learn how businesses are actually working together to build the future of work and intelligent workspaces. And for example, I think for many people listening, they will automatically associate Citrix with virtualized apps and desktops. So to begin with, can I just ask that you tell me a little bit more about the work that Citrix is doing there, Brian, and bring listeners up to speed and just shatter any of those illusions that they may have?
Sure, yeah, no problem. So, it's always been our aim to provide easy access to application and content securely, and making sure that we deliver a great user experience as part of that, really kind of trying to help people be productive. But not all of the applications and content users are going to need are going to be hosted on a Citrix virtual platform. So, this is evident as part of the rapid evolution of technology in recent years. It's just led to an expanded diversity of apps and devices, infrastructure, and work styles. That creates tremendous flexibility, but with the rate and amount of change that's happening, it's also increased complexity. So I think in the last few years, Citrix has really taken stock and looked at our experience and how we build upon that to define what a complete workspace needs to be. How can we organize, optimize all of these applications, whether they're virtualized or SaaS or local, and content, regardless of whether that's coming from an on-premise data repository or whether it's coming from a cloud storage provider. And how can we do all of this and secure all of this regardless of what device or network the user connects from? So once we kind of had that in our mind, once we defined that, we set about building cloud services that could deliver these kind of digital workspace, networking, security, and analytics technologies that we knew were going to be required to kind of deliver on this vision, and really to help businesses out there empower their workforces, increase their productivity, improve their employee experience, but at the same time, simplifying how they cope and manage their IT landscapes without being, fearful of the vast choice that's out there. And how can we kind of protect their ability to adapt and evolve around the future of work with an integrated approach? So, fundamentally, we're still in the business of helping users be productive. But with our digital workspace platform, I think we're now opening up to new and exciting ways that we can do this.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. And Tien, just to bring you into the conversation here, because I'm quite conscious that many might associate Fujitsu as a hardware company, but I have had the pleasure of speaking several times with Dave Marvitt about using technology to help employees interact in an entirely new and immersive way. But can you set the scene and tell me a little bit more about you're also focused on building this future of work and intelligent workspaces too?
When I ask people what the first thing that crosses their mind when I say the word Fujitsu, I don't think I've gotten the same response twice in a row. During my time here at Fujitsu, hardware often comes up. We're very strong in that. We have a strong background in that field, especially in EMEA, which you're based out of EMEA, so I'm sure you hear that often as well. But others associate us as managed services, right? Software vendor, HVAC units in Asia, which huge in air conditioning, to scanners and printers, etc. So we really do play in the entire technology stack. But the main thing with all these products is that, as Dave has mentioned, we do a great job here at Fujitsu putting the story behind using this technology to help our customers thrive in today's digital age. So whether it's hardware or a scanner or software, it's the same concept. We're trying to improve the quality of work and productivity for our end customers. To loop back to the second part of your question in regards to future work and intelligent workspace, here at Fujitsu, working with our partners such as Citrix, we have specialized teams and offerings literally named Future Workspace that are purely focused on helping our customers evolve from what had Brian said, that legacy archaic work environments, and more into this more robust workspace where now organizations are able to use technology to further better the way they do their jobs and their productivity rate. And especially in today's age, you have to remain competitive. Speed is the most important KPI for a lot of CIOs and CTOs, being fast and productive. And the concept of driving future workspace is going to drive that factor. Well, at the same time, I do believe technology companies need to adapt this technology just to retain employee satisfaction and retention as well. And I think that's something we're going to see during this pandemic, that companies do need to adopt with technology.
And at RunMyProcess, you guys are also passionate about helping enterprises evolve using the power of connected technology. And I also read that you believe that digital connections between people, software, and devices can actually lead to powerful innovations and open up new ways of solving previously intraceable business problems. But can you tell me a little bit more about these kind of problems that you set out to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of take a step back, so the challenge we've been seeing in today's market, and it's been a challenge the past 20 years, and it's going to be a challenge the next 40 years as well, is that with the ever-increasing scope of new technology systems coming out every day, and then also the internet, things are getting really complex, which is going to lead to a lot of segmentation as well. So we're getting a lot of siloed and dispersed information when it comes from a technology perspective, which in reality is going to be impacting the people that are using these technologies and such things. So just basically too much information flying up around, too many applications, too many systems. So here at RunMyProcess, our core value proposition that we take to the market and how we're solving these problems problems is with our cloud platform. And it allows our customers basically at a high level, the ability to seamlessly integrate systems and then build applications to automate business processes. So in certain functions and tasks in the past that would require 6 to 8 people, maybe 10 systems collaborating with each other to complete a certain task that would take 5 days, we're able to reduce that to 1 or 2 users and into about 30 minutes. So being considered a low code platform allows us to do this really quickly, which means we're able to churn out these applications at a rapid pace and give our customers the ability to take their ideas out to the market a lot quicker.
And before we delve in and talk about the solution that you're all working on together with here, can you tell me a little bit more about the real business problem and how business applications are not actually driving productivity or happiness in the workplace anymore?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think anybody that works not only in IT, but just has any contact with a computer during the course of their day will understand the wealth of applications that are out there. I mean, when we do look at projects where we virtualize applications, as an example, it's not uncommon to find hundreds, if not thousands, and a single customer. And half the time they don't really know what they've got, and half the time they don't really know what the scope was of why they got the application in the first place. So you end up with too many apps. And the other thing is that the apps are invariably too complex. And so, it's frustrating for people. They don't like using them. They're either trying to avoid using them, or, it's real painful for them to go through it. And that just demoralizes them a bit, and it makes it harder for them to do their work. So if you take those two things together, really we think we're putting these systems in place to help people, and actually it's having the opposite effect. So what we're finding is when you look at how you work in a slightly different way, there are real opportunities to kind of make that situation better. And I always give an analogy. I get to talk about this quite a bit. And the one I found that helps people the most is talking about a photocopier, strangely enough. So, we've all got one of those photocopiers in our office that look like, you could fly a mission to Mars from it with all the buttons and screens and everything else. There's probably one person in the office, if we're lucky, that knows how to use all of the buttons on that photocopier. They've been through the training, maybe they were even involved in the purchasing decision. So they're like the power user. They know how to make a 20-sided or 20 double-sided color copy that's collated and stapled and everything else. The other 99% of us walk up and we all do the same thing, which is we hit the green button. And if we want 2 copies, maybe we hit the green button twice. So what we're trying to look at here is, surely with all of the wealth of technology and brains that we have available, we can make software work like that. We can make a task that you need to complete, instead of being an onerous thing that you have to wade through an application to get to, can we make it a green button?
Yeah, and going back to what I said earlier, right? Our digital world absolutely continues to evolve with all the new technologies and internet that are pushing that. And organizations, they continue to purchase technology day in and day out. Procurement's in charge, IT's in charge of figuring out ways to use technology to solve business requirements or business demands. So these acquisitions are happening on a day in and day out. But in reality, we're just causing more chaos, right? More number of applications. And like what Brian had mentioned, these are complex applications because, number one, they got to win your business from their competitors before it even brings in-house. So again, you're talking about bells and whistles that are being added on to these platforms in order to win your business. And then you bring it in-house, and then what happens after that. It doesn't get used correctly. It turns into chaos. And now end users are spending more time basically accessing systems and completing tasks. And they're not focusing on what truly matters in their role, which is, driving their core KPIs, whether it's driving revenue, meeting SLAs, answering support tickets, whatever it may be. We're taking time away from those tasks and spending too much time in these applications, for example.
And I think everyone listening would have felt that chaos at some stage, and absolutely love that photocopier analogy there. I think so many people will be able to resonate with that. And whenever I finish this podcast, I always finish by saying technology works best when it brings people together. And what I love about this story here is how Fujitsu, RunMyProcess and Citrix have united in putting people first in joint collaboration that consists ultimately of Fujitsu's low-code platform RunProcess and Citrix Workspace. But can you tell me more about how this technology partnership helps companies increase efficiency and productivity by actually utilizing RunProcess's core capabilities and development of these custom applications that route through the Citrix Workspace? Because I think that's where all the value is hidden, isn't it?
Sure. So, I mean, if I tell you a little bit about kind of the evolution of Workspace and how we've done our bit, and then if Tien kind of explains his bit, and then we can bring it together. I think that probably will help the listeners kind of get to the crux of what we're doing. So I talked about this green button. I talked about this, can we get this kind of level of experience for a user? And really that boils down to you don't kind of want to go to an application just for the sake of it. Normally you want to go to the application to get something done. So that's a task, it's a unit of work. So can we figure out a way to make that unit of work as streamlined as possible? Now, most applications, a lot of applications have APIs. So we can start to, first of all, build a connector to an application. This is part of the Citrix Workspace, part of the cloud service behind that. Allows us to connect into an application. And then with an API, we can extract certain tasks. So another example, really simple one might be approving time off or even submitting time off. So if I go with the submitting case first, if I want to submit time off, normally I have to open up my HR application. It might be the best HR application in the world, but you know what? I use it for two things, my annual review and for requesting time off. Yeah. So when I want to request time off, I want to see how many days I've got left and I want to tell my manager which days I want off. Those are the only pieces of information that are relevant to that task. So using the APIs, we can extract those, we can present them to the user as part of their workspace, so the same place that they get all of their applications, wherever they're coming from, all of their data, wherever it's coming from, with a uniform look and feel, regardless of what device or network they're on. And we can present a simple form that says, this is how many days you've got left, which days do you want to have off? And we can submit that, and then through the back end and APIs, we handle connecting that in. So at a very kind of simplistic level, that's what we're doing from a Citrix perspective. But obviously, that's a use case talking about pointing at a single application. So if I hand over to Tien and I'll let him describe how RunMyProcess can do its integration, and then we'll bring it back to what we do to combine.
Yeah, absolutely. So for RunMyProcess, as I had mentioned in the past, our main value proposition right now in the market is being able to integrate all these back office systems. And it's more than just, legacy systems. It's being able to get everything to talk to each other from a connected standpoint. On-premise systems, legacy homegrown systems, the new system that's going to be released next week that your company purchases. We're able to connect everything. As long as there's an API, we're able to connect and get everything talking to each other. And then what we're going to do is we're going to shift and build an actual workflow application to automate a certain task for our end users, which is later going to, what Brian will talk about, populate into Workspace as a micro app.
Yep. So, I gave an example of a user input. So we all know that, in a workflow, there's going to be points where you have to reach out and you're going to need some user interaction. So we can automate a lot of things, but sometimes it's a human brain that has to make a decision. So as well as the kind of simple input use case around a task, we can have a notification use case. So we can take a feed from RunMyProcess, take a trigger, if you will, and pop a notification card into the user's workspace. Now, for them, the experience is going to look pretty much like Facebook. They will have a view where they can see all of the list of their applications or desktops or files if they want, but they can also have almost a news feed, if you will. And so they can see things on there. Maybe it's informational notes that get pushed, or maybe it's an action. So it'll be a pop-up saying, I need you to make a decision on this, yes or no, 5 or 10, whatever it might be. And so we can handle that kind of user interface piece, again, regardless of what the device or the network is. And then we can capture that and send that back into RunMyProcess, and that can move through to the next part of the flow. So it's a great kind of relationship in that we don't necessarily need to build connectors from the workspace to every single element that's involved. RunMyProcess has a platform that does that superbly. So as Tien would kind of attest to, stick to what our strengths are. And certainly we are best at handling that delivery to the user and that interaction from you.
I'd love to bring Manju into the conversation here. How does this collaboration between Citrix and Fujitsu come about from the Citrix Ready and Citrix Developer Program standpoint?
Yes, that is a great question. So Fujitsu is an old good friend for Citrix. Citrix and Fujitsu are partnered for over a decade now. Like Teen mentioned, Fujitsu has always been on top of the radar to do something extraordinary for the IT industry. It could be in the hardware segment, bringing various IT solutions for the digital world, like client computing devices, peripheral devices, mainframe solutions, server solutions, and storage solutions, and also software products to manage and optimize the infrastructure. On the similar lines with Fujitsu RunMyProcess, they're along with us on the journey. I want to echo what Brian and Teen said about how complex these modern applications are and how many functions we leave behind us without using them. So reconsider the example of photocopy machine that Brian mentioned. So RunMyProcess is helping enterprises for making digital transformations for enterprise applications like Citrix. So as Teen mentioned, RunMyProcess helps to seamlessly integrate various applications, automating the workflows, and improving everyday digital processes. So with Citrix Micro App service and its capabilities, like Brian explained, we thought to take RunMyProcess one level above. So back during the Citrix Summit in January 2020, before the world was hit by pandemic, we were very fortunate to see the live demo of RunMyProcess at the booth. So we talked and agreed to make it more robust. We worked together to make the workflow more rich, more intuitive, and more engaging from the user Citrix Workspace. And all these are actually powered by Citrix Micro App Service. So today, we are very glad to say Fujitsu RunMyProcess is working with Citrix to help define the future of work for our enterprises. While the final list is in continuous review based on our joint customers' priorities, the current candidates includes incident management and inventory management. And like I mentioned, this list will currently or certainly grow as days progress and more to come.
And I think we've all heard about the digital transformation journey, but I'd love to ask your thoughts on the employee experience transformation journey as well. I mean, I can ask you that to you first, Brian.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think, I could chuck the M word out there and say millennials and everyone will groan, but I think, you can't get away from the fact that the workplace has shifted from a technology point of view. When I started, you got what you were given and you were grateful. Now people want choice, and it's something that they've grown up with in their personal lives. So they don't necessarily understand or care for what the complexities and the realities actually are of delivering some of these kind of services that customers and companies deliver to their users. They're less forgiving, and they also have kind of different priorities in life as well. They're much more kind of experience focused generally, I think. So we have to face the reality. You can't have an aging population and not replace it with younger people. And to attract the younger people, you have to be an appealing place to work. User experience is key, and it's not solely technology. It's culture. It can even start from the whole onboarding process. But ultimately, technology and how you enable people to work plays a big part into that. So when you look at, can I remove the monotony of some of the tasks that were needed to be done and make those simpler? Can I enable people to work from different locations and different devices? Those are only going to be plus points in your kind of user experience score when a potential employee is rating you and whether they want to work for you. And that's been the case. I know with the current pandemic, there's massive unemployment. So I wonder whether this is one of the things that will change. But we were struggling for skilled staff before the pandemic. So if that doesn't change, then you have to attract the talent. You have to be setting yourself apart. And there are things that you can do with technology and systems that can help you kind of score those points.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo on what Brian said. Millennial, I fall into that category, and everything he said basically was music to my ears. Right? It's about being able to have technology to adopt what you do as a job, speed, user experience, being able to work from home, being able to access your applications, any device, anywhere, at any time. I want to be able to, and everyone wants to be able to do their jobs at their highest level and not be bogged down by applications and systems and things like that. So for me, when I think about the employee experience transformation, it's only going to keep shifting. And Citrix and RunMyProcess does a good job adapting to that market. But when I think about the employee experience, it has to continue to change. or customers or enterprises will start losing their employees to other organizations that just make it more of a priority. And with the pandemic being in full force right now, I think we're going to be seeing a big shift in technology and money being spent in the digital workspace.
And I'm so glad that you both brought up the global pandemic there, because it really does feel that it's fast-tracked employees' expectations. And I think it's almost changed the way we work forever, especially in that post-pandemic world when we eventually get there. Because today's employees, like you both said, now want simple, intelligent and reliable experiences that enable them to work when, where and how they want to be the most productive, and just enabling them to work in any location and on any device. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you're combining Citrix Workspace with Fujitsu RunMyProcess? And by doing that, companies can quickly and easily solve that problem and deliver it across all types of SaaS, on-prem, and even legacy environments too.
Sure. I mean, it was a kind of, I'm not sure if it was ever an officially marketing slogan, kind of any for Citrix, but we always used to talk about, any app, any device, anywhere. And that is still, that's a core capability that Citrix has. So when you look at our ability from our platform to deliver these things securely down to a device, not only regardless of what the device type is, but actually with the intelligence to understand what are the kind of network conditions involved, where should we tweak how we deliver things, what's the security that we need for this particular app, this particular network. So we kind of have all of that ingrained as our DNA. We have that kind of security embedded in everything that we do. And that actually frees people up to say, okay, we trust that this information, which is valuable, can still be consumed and worked with from a device which is not tied to a desk in our corporate office. And I think combining that with RunMyProcess, and there are applications which RunMyProcess is not only able to just connect to, but is able to drive and to probably make it much more efficient in how they operate as part of a workflow. And those things were never designed to be accessed from a smartphone, as an example. So the combination of the two, I think, really enables us to open up kind of Pandora's box in things that we never thought were possible, to say, actually, what's the right information and application that the user is going to need to achieve that task, and then figure out how do we get that to them using the combined platforms of both of us.
So, Manju, can you also tell me a little bit more about the Citrix Developer Program that you mentioned a few moments ago, and shed some light on exactly what it is and what value it can bring to businesses?
Sure. Let me level set for those who are not aware of the Citrix Ready program. The Citrix Ready program is a technology partner program. We help technology partners starting from the industry leaders like Microsoft, Google, Fujitsu, to the startup companies to integrate their solutions and products with Citrix technologies and services. We help partners by showcasing their offering to over 400,000 customers and 10,000 resellers by listing their profile and solutions in Citrix Ready Marketplace. We also host a bunch of technical and marketing benefits which suits our partner particular needs and drive awareness and demand for their offerings. According to the 2018 partner survey that we conducted with the existing Citrix Ready partners, 84% of the Citrix Ready partners have said that their technical and marketing engagement with us has helped them reach and expand on their target audience while driving awareness and leads for their businesses as well. So, coming back to the Citrix Developer Program, it is like any other technical programs that we launch. However, this program is more strategized. It has got a strong vision to build the future of work together with our developer ecosystem. So by now you might have guessed this program is designed for developers who can at a later stage can become a partner like Fujitsu. So the developer program includes a comprehensive suite of tools, documentations, events, trainings, and supporting community as well, which are created to make it easy for developers to start building the micro apps for Citrix Workspace. The program also includes a no-cost developer test instance of micro app service that helps developers to get hands-on experience. And finally, the program is also for anybody to join at no cost. It offers a lot of benefits for both developers and partners, right from getting access to micro app instance till marketing and promoting to extend their global market reach.
And who can participate, Manju? And for everybody listening, who would need this program?
So let me take the later part of your question first and answer it. So the question was, who would need this program? Well, the simplest answer is everybody and every enterprise. As Brian and Teen were explaining the value propositions and how to address the challenges, just to reiterate, many enterprises are facing the challenge of employee engagement and improving productivity, and delivering through simpler IT is the key here. So this program is catered for every industry, verticals, and for every application types. And going back to your second question, who can participate? Well, before I answer that question, I just want to reiterate what is a micro app. A micro app is a single use case made available to users to streamline a functionality from a complex enterprise application. So micro app uses APIs available within the SaaS app or a web app or a homegrown application to allow users to see the content without needing the full launch of their application or the need to context switch. So now to connect the dots, any developer who understands the functionalities, features of the application, and who understands the APIs, and who can learn how to use the low-code or no-code micro app builder can participate in this program and start to build the first micro app. To make it much more easy and convenient, there are a handful out-of-the-box integrations and customizable templates available, which will help to construct new micro apps within minutes. It is that much easy for anyone to get started and to build the first micro app integrations.
So do you have any use cases that you can share that will bring everything that we've talked about today to life and just help anyone listening, no matter if they're a business lead or a decision maker or head of a department or anything, and just help them understand how this all, when packaged together, could deliver real value to a business and solve real problems?
Yeah, sure. So I can share one that we actually worked on together as a kind of example one to explain this partnership at our recent summit event. So we looked at the scenario of a franchisee owner for restaurants. So this is somebody who's responsible for managing multiple restaurants, maybe across a large city. And we worked on the case that, there are existing applications which are looking at stock levels within each individual restaurant. But overall, you want a kind of holistic view of everything that's going on in all of your different stores. So we painted a scenario of a key stock item going below a set threshold, and the store manager trying to actually place a new order on the supplier, and the supplier was unable to fulfill it. So that kind of process was actually handled as part of RunMyProcess. But once it got to that point where the supplier came back and said, no, sorry, I can't satisfy this order, the store manager was able to very quickly just say, unsatisfied or unable to be fulfilled, and that triggered the alert to the franchisee manager. So they get within their newsfeed in Workspace a notification card, and when they click on it, they can see exactly what the problem is. Citrix has talked to RunMyProcess. We've extracted a list of the particular item, the level of stock, but not only have we done that, we've actually extracted all of the level of stock information from the other stores. So without having to leave the Workspace and switch between different applications, the franchisee manager was able to look at, this store over here has actually got a surplus of stock, and trigger an action to tell RunMyProcess to create a job to get somebody to move stock from restaurant A to restaurant B, as an example. So that was a kind of, powerful example that we could give where we didn't touch the underlying system. We didn't create any kind of new mechanisms within that, but the interaction between the data RunMyProcess could fetch and assimilate, and how easy it was for somebody to read that information and act on it within Workspace was the way we kind of chose to explain how we could work together.
Now, apologies for asking such a big question, but I think there's one topic on every leader's mind right now, whether they're in technology or not in technology, and that is, what does the future for businesses and their reliances on technology look like in a post-pandemic world? I'm going to have to ask you to tackle this one.
Yeah, it's huge. And we're starting to see it right now, especially in the States where, for example, I'm in Texas and we're starting to open it up on Friday. And, organizations are going to have to figure out how to retain their talent. I know, for example, my wife works in an office and she's hesitating to go back in, and they're not giving her an option to go back in and not work from home, then she'll probably look elsewhere. That's just the state of where we are right now in this global pandemic. And I think this is going to be the same feeling that many people are going to have debating about going back into an office or not. And especially being exposed to work from home, I'm sure their productivity rates are just as high with using technology such as Citrix Workspace and RunMyProcess. So in my opinion, organizations are going to have to adopt. It's nothing new. I think we've gone through this shift a few years ago when technology was starting to make a shift in everyone's workspace. But sooner or later, organizations will have to decide to invest in technology or not. And that's going to cause a consequence whether they're going to retain talent or not. People can easily go apply for new jobs where they know that their employer respects their decisions of working from home or not and are enabling them with technology. So I think this is going to be a huge shift. I think a lot of organizations will shift to a work from home model or a hybrid model where they have to go in 2 days a week, right? Like a split schedule. But I do think there's going to be huge drastic change in the way that people conduct their businesses and people going into the office.
I add to that. I think that this last few weeks that we've already been through, I think has demonstrated the value that technology can have on helping businesses survive and adapt their business models, in frankly unheard of kind of times. So, we've seen and we've been able to help customers rapidly kind of achieve that. We just need to get some work done from home. But I think actually the realization that can be done efficiently, securely, doesn't necessarily, mean that you have to chuck away everything you've ever done before. It can adapt and augment on top of what you already do. I think that might actually open people's minds to say, we were a bit reluctant before, but now this probably is something we want to look at and invest in. I mean, I'm not at liberty to share, who, but there was a customer who, this time, well, even just at the end of last year, they would not have gone near like cloud. We're talking that kind of customer. But their absolute need to keep working during the pandemic forced them to take some different decisions. And it wasn't, just something we chucked at them. We worked with them. We answered the concerns, but they were much more open to have the conversation because the need was there. And I guess, my hope would be that businesses will retain that kind of open-mindedness, that understanding that things can be done differently. With the aid of technology, you can satisfy all of your legal and compliance requirements, but still enable different ways to work. And I think, if that holds true, then the relationship between Citrix and Fujitsu RunMyProcess is, one of the great tools that can help them achieve that.
And Manju, you mentioned that you can join the program, but can you also explain on what the benefits are and what one could join, what benefits people can have by joining the program too?
There are a lot of benefits. We know Citrix has had developer program and partner programs for many years. And what we are doing is building on top of it. We are here with a mission. The first and foremost thing is we want to create and foster a Citrix developer ecosystem, which allows our developers to orchestrate and automate the workflows, which helps them to build their own micro app, workflows in record time, even from legacy or non-prem applications. We further want to establish and enable Citrix as a platform for development for any developers and for any apps for Citrix Workspace. To that end, finally, our mission is to help our developers to be successful, to extend their outreach through Citrix partners, where we have a huge community. Finally, to put it in better perspective, this program helps developers in their journey, starting from learning. In this phase, they get access to all the tools, training materials, events, and documentations to get up to the speed and start developing. The second phase is to build a micro app. Here, the developer gets access to the first free test instance. He can get hands-on experience, and then later he can start to build his first micro app integrations. After the build, there's a shift in the journey. He can now become a partner from being an independent developer. To start the journey, one has to validate the micro app integrations. So validation is the third phase. Getting the micro app integration validated with the test kit that we have for security, stability, and quality test criteria is the key here. So once they validate, then they become a Citrix partner. So we help them in sharing. Sharing is the next phase. We help to share the micro app by listing the micro app in our easily searchable catalog. And finally, we help them market as well. We help to promote the micro app integrations to our customers and to connect with our channel partners. We have a huge community of over 1,500 channel partners and hundreds of thousands of customers. And besides all of this, we have some interesting benefits that we offer to our initial and key partners. We can do a joint webinar, we can do a podcast, a joint messaging blog, and an animated video as well.
Thanks, Manju. And before I let everybody go, could you just remind me of where everybody listening can find out more details and even contact your team if they have got any questions about the work you're doing at Citrix?
Yes, there are multiple ways to do that. The first and easiest way is to reach us at citrixready@citrix.com. That's our email address. Secondly, if you want to get started and want to secure your first test instance, navigate to developer.cloud.com/Citrix-Workspace. And last but not the least, if you want to sign up to the developer program and partner program, the easiest way is to navigate to citrixready.citrix.com and click on the Workspace Developer Program banner. And there you will get the program details and sign up page. And as a bonus information, if you're wondering what do you need to get started, it's very simple. Basically, all you need to get started is your business email address, identify an app and its functions and its APIs, and you can get started to build your first micro app integration. That is it. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I've loved chatting with all of you today. I think everybody listening, including ourselves here, we're all aware of the problems that we're facing ahead. But it's great hearing about the solutions and finding that way forward and how we can adapt. And I must admit, over the last few weeks, I have had many conversations with businesses, and they're all pretty much saying the same thing. And that is, we don't want to lose momentum. We want to keep working differently and use it to our advantage in the post-pandemic world. So I think what it's also done is fast-tracked employees' expectations. And everybody wants to work differently now. Now we've embraced those intelligent workspaces. We almost expect them to. And just the ability to be able to work anywhere and be more productive, that is the new expectation now. So I think all eyes are going to be on how organizations adapt to this change. And so much of today's conversation is food for thought around that very topic. But more than anything, a big thank you to the three of you for coming on and joining me today. Thanks again.
Thank you, Neil.
There is so much that I loved about this conversation today. We busted a few myths and preconceptions and also learned how Fujitsu RunMyProcess and Citrix have been working together on this joint collaboration to help businesses on this employee experience transformation journey. And if we take a look under the hood, with this technology partnership, companies can increase efficiency and productivity by utilising RunMyProcess's core capabilities of rapid integration of systems such as SaaS and on-premise, etc., and the development of custom applications which will route to Citrix Workspace. Now, this joint solution provides a powerful and secure digital workspace where enterprises can transform their employee experience in various phases, depending on that transformational journey. But what does that all mean? Yes, we've heard the words transformational journey probably a little bit too much over the last few months or even years, but it's not about buzzwords. Again, if we zoom out and look at this, it's at what are we achieving, what business value are we offering by leveraging this technology? It's integration, integrating workspace with front and back office systems. Automation, by automating workflows across silos to increase productivity. And then we have co-creation, by allowing people to co-create new applications that transform the way work is done. And when you look at it that way, it really isn't about a buzzword such as transformation at all. It's about making a real difference. And I think if anything good can come out of this year, I think it's how we are all beginning to think and work differently. Try to imagine a world with seamless collaboration in intelligent workspaces, regardless of our location, because that is a mouth-watering prospect that all businesses are now beginning to explore. So I will add the links to all of today's guests over on my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. If you look at the top of my site, you'll find links to other podcast interviews that I've performed with Citrix and their partners too. And if you would like to contact me, my email is simply techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can get me on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever your social platform of choice is out there. Just look for me at Neil C. Hughes. So please send in your thoughts, experience and insights and I'll get straight back to you. So finally, a big thank you to all of today's guests for taking the time to share the story behind their collaboration today. And an even bigger thank you to each and every one of you for listening. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.